Good morning. I'm going to go through the notes for today. Most of all this should be review. Everything that you see should be review, but it's really important that we do review it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this into 4 quadrants. And as I'm doing this, you should notice what's going on with a lot of the skills here. We're going to be talking about solving equations. So let me go ahead and title that. This is a skill that will never go away in every one of your math classes. Every single math class, you're going to have to deal with solving equations properly. And when you solve equations, you should think of the opposite operation. And we'll talk about that a lot. The opposite operation, the fancy word for that would be called the inverse operation. Instead of like reverse, which is like going backwards, inverse is like the opposite. All right. If you're flying, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Top Gun. It's an old school 80s movie, but the plane goes inverted. So it's flying, and then all of a sudden it flips around and it goes upside down, and it's inverted, inverse, the same idea, opposite. So as we're doing these notes, they're all going to be simple one-step equations that we're going to talk about. Then we'll jump into 2 steps later on, but this idea needs to get fully in your brain of what's going on. So first thing I'm going to do is just put x plus 5 equals 8. No big deal. X minus 5 equals 8. What about 5x equals 8? And then x divided by 5 equals 8. Okay? All same numbers, obviously. I had some fun with that, but all going to give you different answers. So when you look at an equation, the main thing I want you to do first, every single time, when you do an equation, I want you to separate your work. What does that mean? I want to see a separation bar off of the equal sign. This equal sign, think of it as like a portal, the door to the portal, all right? And we can go Stranger Things if you want. This is reality, this is the upside down, whatever you want to do. But both sides are different. You can't go through the portal and move over to a side without something happening. All right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain that clearer. Let me get a different color. So when you're doing this, make sure you understand the portal here. We're going to get rid of this 5. The whole point of this equation, the whole final point, the final thing we want to do is we want to get x all by itself. We want to get x. That's the whole goal. Why do I say by itself? All alone on one side of the portal. I know I'm going to take that analogy to another level. But yes, you want to get that x all on one side, and everything else has to leave. The x has to be alone. We call it isolating the variable. Isolation. This is an isolation now. It's all alone. Okay? So to do this, the opposite operation here, this is a positive 5. So the operation is positive. The operation is positive. What is the opposite of positive? Negative. And that's how you get rid of it. But you have to do the same thing here. So to go through the portal, now it's allowed to go through there. Now it's allowed to move across. This is gone now. It's moved. You can cancel that out. And what's left? 8 minus 5, 3. You can bring this down. Final answer, x equals 3. Okay? No big deal. It's a review. We're reviewing what's going on here. All right, same idea over here. What's going on here? X minus 5 equals 8. Let's go ahead and make that a plus. What's the opposite of minus? Plus. We're going to go ahead and do that. This went through the portal now. We made it happen. It's gone. It's on this side now. It's able to go to this side. You're always allowed to go back and forth up this thing as long as you do the opposite operation. Opposite operation of -5 is +5. Bring down the x equals 8 plus 5, 13. Okay. Easy peasy. Now, let's go ahead and do the 5x equals 8. Okay. This one's a little trickier. There is a 5 and an x right next to each other. Before, up here, there was a plus sign in between the 5 and the x, or a minus sign, subtraction, addition, all right? When there's nothing next to something, when they're right next to each other, they used to put a point, a dot, but they don't have to. This is multiplication. What is the opposite of multiplication? Opposite operation. This cancels out. It's okay if it's a fraction. No big deal. Your answer is 8 over 5. You could give me a decimal too, but fractions are just fine. Now the last step, x divided by 5, okay? X divided by 5 equals 8. X divided by 5, what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. And that's how I kind of look at it. If I was to do this 5 over 1 and we were going to multiply, those would cancel out. Okay, so that's why x ends up being by itself. That hopefully makes a little sense to you with what's happening here. And 8 times 5 is 40. Okay, all of this needs to be written down. You will not need to post a picture of this. I want you to post a picture of the second page, okay? So this, you can push pause if you didn't finish this. Now, the second page of your notes, that was all one-step equations. Now, let's go ahead and do two-step. Interesting. I have 2 boxes. Let's go ahead and write it out. So I'm going to write out, let's see, 2x plus 5 equals 21. Okay. Now, when we solve this problem, we still want to get to our idea of eventually x equals is going to be all by itself. Don't forget that concept. And if you know all this, great. It's always good to review it, just to get it more solid in your brain to the point where you could teach it to the class. That's the goal. So 2x plus 5 equals 21. Interesting. What if I now look at this and I want to get to here? I want to get it to be x by itself. So when I look at all of this math here, I see equals 21 over here. Okay, interesting. You know I'm going to put my portal here. I'll even start my portal door right here. All right. But when I look to this side, what do I need to kick through the portal to get to be x by itself? What's with x that we have to get rid of it? I see a 2 next to x, and I see a plus 5. I got to kick both of those out, but I have to do it in the proper order. The proper order means I don't do anything with what's connected to x until the end. So I have to kick that 5 out first. Whatever's alone here. I used to tell my kids 2 and x are dancing on the dance floor, and this 5 is all alone on the dance floor and needs to leave. You don't want the random person just dancing on the dance floor by himself. It's kind of creepy. I'm just kidding. But that's what we're going to get rid of first. How do you get rid of a plus 5? You're going to go ahead and go minus 5 to both sides. When you do that, you've kicked it through the portal. All right. Now what's left here? 21 minus 5 is 16. Bring this down. 2x equals 16. We're almost done. Remember, this is a 2-step equation. 2x equals 16. Let's go ahead and do this again. I'm going to draw my portal. 2 times x equals 16. What times 2 equals 16? You can do that in your head. But to solve it completely, you're going to divide it to both sides. X equals 8. 2 into 16 is 8 times. Okay. That was a two-step equation. You had to do one step here, two steps. Now I'm going to go ahead and have some fun. What if I kept doing these boxes? Now, I'm going to mess with you a little bit here, but I know that you've seen this before, so I know it's not going to be too tricky, all right? So this is what some equations could look like. All right, now look at what happened here. So this equation has a lot going on. I went higher level on you guys. That's okay. It's okay to kick it up a notch. This is a little spicier, all right? This is a spicy one. Now, what are you going to do? You first have to understand that this parenthesis, you got to deal with this. That's your first step. So I'm going to write this down. Distribute the parentheses. All right, that's your first step. I used to call this like a dolphin jump. You don't call it that in high school. You call it the distributive property. But this 4 has to jump into both terms inside the parenthesis. When I say jumps in here, it actually has to be distributed, which means multiply. It has to multiply. 4 times 2x, 4 times 1. 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times 1 is 4. And that all equals 28. All right? That was your first step. Second step. You now have to deal with what's going on over here. And yes, you could have done your portal. I didn't really do the portal there. But here, this is just like what we did up here in this problem. You got to get rid of the 4 first. Nothing to do with the x yet. You don't divide 8 into this yet. That won't work. You got to do it in the proper order. So subtract 4 to both sides. Nothing happened to the 8x, so it's still there. And 28 minus 4 is 24. And then you get to your last step. The opposite of multiplication of 8, divide 8. And you're going to get x equals positive 3. All right? This is what I want you to post. Post a pic of this to show me you completed all of this, okay? And I will check in on this and put this in the grade book later. Great job, guys.